All right, so today we're diving deep into something that's super important for anyone really who's interested in how our government works,
Definitely.
especially for, those UPSC aspirants out there prepping for those intense exams.
Yeah.
And that is the Central Information Commission, the CIC.
Mhm.
It's a term we hear thrown around, but
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that a lot of us, myself included, don't really grasp the full extent of what it does.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely something people kind of hear, but maybe don't fully understand the depth of it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about the right to information, I think most people, including me, would
Yeah.
assume
Yeah.
that something this fundamental would be enshrined in our Constitution right
Right.
up there with, all the other basic rights.
Right.
But is that actually the case?
So that's a really common misconception, actually.
Okay.
The CIC, it's not a constitutional body.
Interesting.
It actually came about through the Right to Information Act of 2005.
Ah. Okay, so the act itself brought the CIC into existence.
Exactly. This
Yeah.
act was a huge deal. It gave citizens the legal right to access information that's held by public authorities.
So can we say that the CIC is like the engine room
Mm-hmm.
that makes the RTI Act actually work?
Yeah, I like that analogy, the engine room. Yeah.
Keeping things running, making sure it's not just words on paper.
Totally. It's the watchdog, right? Ensuring the government's accountable and citizens can actually get the information they have a right to.
And we're talking specifically about central government entities, right?
Absolutely. So that means your ministries, departments, even public sector undertakings all come under the CIC's purview.
So just to give our listeners a practical example, let's say I'm trying to access information about a uh, government project,
Mm-hmm.
something happening in my local area, and I just keep hitting roadblocks.
Right.
Can I appeal to the CIC in a situation like that?
Yes, you absolutely can.
Oh.
They are like the final word when it comes to complaints and appeals related to accessing information.
Got it. So it's like that last resort
Yeah,
when all else fails.
exactly.
Now let's talk about the people who make up the CIC.
Okay.
We've got the Chief Information Commissioner at the helm,
Right.
and then up to 10 information commissioners working alongside them.
Yeah.
How does this whole appointment process work? It seems like a pretty significant position to fill.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah.
So it involves some pretty high-profile figures, actually.
Okay.
So you have the prime minister, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, and then a cabinet minister
Hmm.
who's nominated by the prime minister. So these three, they form a committee.
Wow.
And that committee suggests names to the president.
So it's like a multi-layered, high-level kind of thing
Yes, definitely high level.
to get appointed?
Yeah.
So what are they looking for in an ideal candidate?
So experience is key. They're really looking for individuals who have a proven track record.
Okay.
And this can be in various fields like law, science and technology, social service, management, journalism.
Wow. So it's quite a diverse range.
Yeah, the idea is to have a group with a wide range of experience who really understand how information flows in different sectors.
Makes sense. So it's not just about legal expertise.
Yeah.
It's about having a broad perspective on why access to information is important.
Exactly.
Now, I'm also guessing that political neutrality is a pretty big deal in this role.
Oh, absolutely. These individuals need to be impartial, right? Dedicated to upholding the right to information
Right.
without any sort of political bias creeping in.
So no pushing any agendas.
No, not at all.
Okay. And their term is fixed, right?
Yes, it's fixed for 5 years or until they reach 65, whichever comes first.
Okay.
And there's no provision for reappointment.
Wow. So they're really free to make decisions based on what they believe is right
Exactly.
without worrying about, pleasing anyone to secure a second term.
Exactly, yeah.
But that doesn't mean they can just do whatever they want.
Oh, of course not. There are specific grounds for removal, like insolvency, a criminal conviction, or if they take up paid employment outside of their duties.
So there are checks and balances in place
Absolutely, yeah.
to make sure that power isn't being misused.
Right, and even if one of these grounds is found to be true, it's not like they're immediately removed.
Right.
The president has to refer the case to the Supreme Court,
Okay.
and the Supreme Court then conducts a thorough inquiry.
So it's a very serious process.
Yes, very.
A lot of safeguards built in.
Mhm.
Okay, so we've talked about the structure, the appointment process, the fact that they're chosen very carefully and they're held accountable.
Yeah.
But now let's get to the real meat of it.
Okay.
What can the CIC actually do?
All right. So they have the power to receive complaints from anyone.
Literally anyone.
Literally anyone, yeah.
Okay.
Who's faced issues accessing information from a central public authority.
So that could be a journalist working on a story,
Yes.
a researcher,
Yes.
just an ordinary citizen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyone who feels like they've been unfairly denied information.
They can approach the CIC.
Exactly.
Okay, and it doesn't stop there,
Right.
right?
No, it doesn't.
They have even more powers than that.
Yes, they can actually launch investigations on their own initiative.
What? Really?
Yeah.
So they don't have to wait for someone to file a complaint.
No.
They can proactively decide to look into something.
Yes, we call that suomoto powers.
Suomoto powers, okay?
Yeah.
So for example, let's say there are rumors of corruption within a certain ministry,
Right.
but nobody's coming forward to formally file a complaint. The CIC can step in, seeing that this is potentially a matter of public interest,
Exactly.
and initiate an inquiry themselves.
Yeah, that's a huge power.
It really is. It
Yeah.
is. So how do they actually go about conducting these inquiries?
So the CIC can exercise powers that are similar to what a civil court has.
Okay.
So they can summon witnesses, they can demand evidence, they can examine documents.
So they've got real teeth.
Yes, they do. They have the authority to get to the bottom of things. Now, this is getting really interesting. I'm starting
Yeah.
to see why understanding the CIC is so important,
Mm-hmm.
not just for UPSC aspirants, but for all of us.
Absolutely. It's about understanding how transparency works in a democracy,
Right.
how citizens can hold those in power accountable.
So it's not just about memorizing facts and figures.
No, not at all.
It's about understanding how this powerful body can actually make a real difference in the real world.
Exactly.
I'm actually really eager to hear about some specific examples of how the CIC has impacted transparency in India.
Oh, there are some fascinating cases. I'll tell you all about them in part 2.
All right, so you were about to tell us about some of these fascinating cases where the CIC actually made a difference.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So there was this one a few years back, this RTI activist was seeking information about government bungalows in Delhi,
Okay.
you know, those prime properties.
Yeah.
And, well, it turned out that a bunch of high-ranking officials were occupying these bungalows, but they were way beyond their entitlement. They weren't supposed to be there that long.
Oh, wow. So just an ordinary citizen
Yeah,
using the RTI Act?
Yeah.
And with the help of the CIC,
right.
exposed this misuse of government property.
Exactly. The CIC stepped in, ordered the authorities to disclose all the details,
Yeah.
and boom, the whole thing came to light. Huge public outcry.
So it had real consequences.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The government was forced to take action because of that.
That's a pretty powerful example of how the CIC
Yeah,
isn't just, theoretical. It has
Right.
real world impact.
definitely. And it's not just about those big corruption cases either.
Right.
It's about basic services too, like there was this case of a village community in Maharashtra. They were struggling to get clean drinking water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they filed RTI applications to find out about the funds that were allocated for their water supply project.
Okay.
But the local authorities just wouldn't budge, wouldn't give them any information.
So they appealed to the CIC.
They did, and the CIC actually came through for them.
Good.
They ordered those authorities to hand over all the information.
Right.
And what it, turned out that the funds were allocated, but they were never actually used properly.
Wow.
So the CIC's intervention, it brought transparency.
Right.
And in the end, it actually helped those villagers get access to clean water.
That's amazing. It shows you how the right to information
Yeah.
with the backing of an institution like the CIC can really empower people.
Yeah. Even the most marginalized communities.
Exactly. And it's not just about exposing corruption. It's about ensuring basic rights are being met.
Yeah, absolutely. Holding the government accountable, making
Mhm.
sure they're working for the people.
And this is where I think it becomes really relevant for our UPSC aspirants.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's talk about them.
Okay.
How does knowing about the CIC, how does all this translate into doing well in those UPSC exams?
Well, you have to remember, the UPSC, they're not just looking for people who can memorize a bunch of facts.
Right.
They want people who understand how governance works, the mechanisms of transparency, and how to actually apply these principles in real-life situations.
So it's not just about scoring points on a test.
Yeah.
It's about demonstrating that you understand how to make the system work for the people.
Exactly. So they might ask you to analyze some landmark CIC rulings,
Okay.
evaluate how effective the RTI Act has been in promoting transparency, or even propose reforms, ways to strengthen the CIC's role.
So it's about critical thinking,
Yeah.
problem solving, showing that you get the complexities of governance.
Absolutely. For example, they might ask you about the challenges the CIC faces.
Yeah. Like what kind of challenges?
Well, one of the big ones is the backlog of cases.
Right. I've heard about that huge backlog.
Yeah, it seems kind of ironic, right?
Yeah.
A body meant to provide speedy access to information is bogged down by these delays.
Exactly. It's like the opposite of what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and so the UPSC might ask you to dig into why these delays are happening.
Okay.
Is it a lack of resources? Do they need more information commissioners?
So it's not just about identifying the problem, it's about coming up with solutions.
Exactly. And then there's the whole question of how the CIC interacts with other institutions.
Look.
Like the judiciary, the media, civil society.
Right, like a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, how does the CIC navigate all those relationships?
Because there might be times when the CIC's decisions are challenged in court.
Exactly.
Or the media might bring to light some issues within the commission itself.
Yeah, how the CIC responds to these pressures,
Mhm.
that's really important. It shows how well they can function within the larger framework of our democracy.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion here.
Yeah, it's more than just the structure and functions, right?
Right, it's about the impact on citizens,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship with other institutions,
Yeah.
and ultimately its role in making our democracy stronger. Honestly, I'm even more curious now than I was at the beginning.
Good.
It's fascinating how something that seems so, procedural
Yeah.
can have such a profound impact on people's lives.
And for those aiming for the UPSC, that understanding is key.
Absolutely.
It's not just about acing the exam.
Mm-hmm.
It's about equipping yourself to serve the nation, uphold transparency, good governance.
This has been really insightful.
Good.
I'm looking forward to wrapping things up and hearing those final takeaways in part 3. All right, so let's kind of recap everything we've talked about with the CIC.
Yeah. Good idea.
We've really gone from, CIC, what's that,
Huh?
to, seeing how vital it is for holding our government accountable.
It's been quite a journey, right?
It has.
Yeah.
So we started by busting that myth that the CIC is a constitutional body.
Right, not in the Constitution.
It's actually a product of the Right to Information Act of 2005, which was, a total game changer.
Absolutely. A landmark moment for transparency.
And then we looked at how those information commissioners are chosen. It's like a super rigorous process.
It is. It is. They don't just pick anyone for this job.
Definitely not, a high-powered committee. They're focused on
Yeah.
expertise, impartiality. You've got fixed terms, no reappointments.
All designed to make sure those commissioners can do their job without feeling any pressure,
Exactly. No looking over their shoulder.
Yeah.
And then there's the powers they have. It's not just about, sitting back and waiting for complaints.
No, not at all.
They can actually launch investigations themselves.
That's right. Suo powers, remember?
Oh, yes. Suomoto, I'm not going to forget that
Okay.
they can summon witnesses, demand evidence.
They can really get to the bottom of things,
It's about making sure people can access information.
which, as we've seen, can lead to some pretty amazing outcomes.
Yeah. Exposing corruption, making sure those essential services are delivered, even pushing for changes in policy.
It's all connected.
It is. And for our UPSC folks out there, I think this deep dive has given them a real masterclass on not just what the CIC is,
Right.
but why it matters and how it works in practice.
It's all about showing the UPSC that you get the bigger picture,
You're not just spitting out facts from a textbook,
Exactly. It's about applying that knowledge.
analyzing real-world situations.
Yeah, understanding the challenges, coming up with solutions.
But you know what? Even if you're not prepping for the UPSC,
Yeah,
understanding the CIC, I think it's empowering for everyone.
I agree.
Knowing your rights, knowing how to access information.
Knowing there's a system in place to hold those in power accountable.
That's valuable for every citizen.
It really is.
But it makes you think, right?
Hmm.
As we're moving towards this digital age, how does the CIC keep up?
It's a good question.
How does it stay relevant? Make sure the right to information is still strong in the face of all these new challenges.
Yeah, something to think about.
It is. So for everyone listening, check out the CIC website, take a look at the RTI Act,
Explore it.
really think critically about the role of information in shaping our democracy,
Because informed citizens.
our empowered citizens.
Exactly. The CIC, it's a powerful tool. And like any tool, how effectively it's used really depends on us.
On us, that's a great point to end on.
It is. It is.
All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Central Information Commission.
It was a good one.
Thanks for joining us.